McCormick knows unbeatable flavor starts with the right spices. It's why we created Flavor Sealed. So anytime you peel back the seal of McCormick herbs and spices, you can be confident they will pack the same amount of flavor as the day they were packed. The kind of flavor that brings out the best of your favorite recipes and keeps everyone coming back for seconds, or maybe even thirds. McCormick, Flavor Sealed for unbeatable flavor.
Avoiding your unfinished home projects because you're not sure where to start? Thumbtack knows homes, so you don't have to. Don't know the difference between matte paint finish and satin? Or what that clunking sound from your dryer is? With Thumbtack, you don't have to be a home pro. You just have to hire one. You can hire top-rated pros, see price estimates, and read reviews, all on the app. Download today.
It's time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
Yes, it does, and great to have you with us on this Tuesday edition of the show. We got a lot to do over the next 60 minutes. NFL weekend leftovers, Week 7 style. We got some Monday Night Football games to run through as well as this League of Parity continues to play itself out. Talk about that too. Let's start things out in Major League Baseball, and our good friend Cameron Maybin hangs out with us on the show. Former big leaguer, you can see him on Fall Territory, World Series winner, and we have a World Series matchup, Cameron Maybin. After the Blue Jays rally in dramatic fashion, they come from behind. George Springer, the big 3-run home run, as the Mariners come up short. And again, now the only team to never reach a World Series, which I'm sure they're happy to have me remind them of over our friends watching on Root Sports. Cameron, what did you make of what we saw in Toronto last night?
Well, you know what? I tell you what, it was a fun Game 7. It was the Game 7 we wanted as fans. I think it was the Game 7 we needed as a MLB, as a community. I mean, it was beautiful, hard fought. You had two epic storylines, right? One franchise that hadn't been there for 32 years, another that was looking for their first appearance only. I love watching the game in those moments where they cut back to Seattle and they cut to that fan base, and you can just see the angst and you can see the necessity to just get to that World Series, whether you win it or not. And for them not to do it after being up 2-0, I said it. This also, I'm sure to Seattle fans, feels like an epic collapse. Like, you go up, you win 2 on the road against the Jays. You got Cal Raleigh having a, historic MVP season. I think what he did in the playoffs still should solidify that he is the MVP. But once again, as you sat there and watched, as I watched that total series unravel and unfold, it started to look to me like the Mariners were not the best team in that series. You looked at the pitching. It worried me earlier. You saw the velo was there, but the stuff wasn't. When we talk about stuff, that means the sharpness, the electricity, the life. Gilbert, Kirby, those guys, Wu looked pretty good last night. I wish they might have stuck with him a little longer. Especially you talk about a starter, the guy that's already stretched out. I thought that might have been that one mistake that really cost him. Wu kind of found it. He was a little effectively wild, I think, too. I think that matters. But it was a Game 7. I didn't miss one pitch. I was up all night with the newborn, and again, we're getting him locked in already as well. So I'm looking forward to this World Series matchup.
I got to say, though, and I referenced this to you off the air, and I'll say it on the air. After watching 7 games of those two teams, the Toronto Blue Jays were the better team. And the Mariners were kind of in that mode of looking for that one blast, that one home run. They did not convert with runners in scoring position. The Blue Jays only had one extra base hit in that game last night, and it was the Springer dinger. So, to me, if you're talking about the most complete team in the way they play baseball, and this is still a team playing without Bo Bichette, which a lot of people forget. If he get and that's another topic.
Jose Barrios, they're missing some pieces, and they still look formidable.
Yeah.
They look like a poor man's version of the Dodgers, if you ask me. Right? Just figuring out a ways, like I said, other than last night, figuring out a ways to manufacture runs, not waiting for the long ball. And the pitching has looked great. Max Scherzer, listen, we just need to get him to October so he can get that Max Scherzer energy back, right? Father Time, he's kicking everybody's ass. But when we get into October, all of a sudden you get that extra adrenaline and extra boost. Great seeing Bassett come out of the pen last night. Some much-needed pieces starting to come into fold for the Blue Jays at the right time.
But you knew And I said this yesterday on the show, and I even heard John Smoltz reference it after I said it yesterday, which made me feel better about myself. And that was, you knew with all hands on deck mentality, it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. Because it's almost like a bomb tech going in, and it's, do you cut the red wire or do you cut the blue wire or do you cut the black wire? And I posted it last night on X. I said, Dan Wilson cut the wrong wire. You know, he brings in Bizzardo, who you know, the Blue Jays have seen 7,000 times in this series, it feels like, and he cut the wrong wire, and it's George Springer hitting the bomb.
Yeah, like I said, I felt like Brandon Wu was a little nervous at first, but he kind of figured it out. And his stuff, he had life on his stuff out the pen. I thought he had that effectively wild command where it kind of kept the Blue Jays at bay a little bit. And just right there, when you go to a starter, I'm just thinking to myself, why not let him ride? Like, ride him until the very end, especially with how electric he looks. So you're right. They cut the wrong wire last night and everything blew up right in their faces.
Yeah, it certainly did. Sam Yarnell joining the chat as well. Sam, go ahead.
Cameron, I wanted to ask you, when you face this kind of pitching in a Game 7 environment, when you step into the box, obviously we saw last night there are just hitters with a different mentality. What does it take to come up with that kind of big moment like we saw George Springer do, like we see him do seemingly every year in these postseasons?
You know what? I know they're not in it anymore, but I've got to steal a line from Pat Murphy, and I think, you know, when you see the guys that have success in these moments, they take what the game gives them. You know, Pat Murphy always talked about taking what the game gives you. If it gives you a 4-pitch walk, you take it. If it gives you a moment where you've seen a guy 1,000 times, like the Jays that saw, you know, last night in George Springer, what does he do? Take advantage. So, you know, I think it's all about what the game gives you. Even right now, you know, Vladdy Jr., I mean, his aura, his energy, his presence in the lineup, yes, he's doing damage, but he's hitting everything hard. I mean, whether it's a single, whether it's a double, but he's just taking what the game gives him, right? And I just think that's so important this time of year where you get people who, they want to be the hero, right? They want to turn on the TV and they want to see their, you know, the highlights of them on it, replaying over and over, right? So they can have that clip. But I think the teams that really, you know, excel in these situations, like the Dodgers, like the Blue Jays just did to move on, I think they do a great job of just passing the baton, starring in whatever their role is for that day, not just the series, that day, that game, and taking what the game gives you. And I think you saw that last night with the Blue Jays.
You referenced them as the poor man's Dodgers here in the final 30 seconds of this segment. Yeah. You referenced them as the poor man's Dodgers, and that really is apropos because the depth from the top to the bottom of their lineup really ate in this ALCS.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at these guys, Luke's, Ernie Clement,
Jimenez. Yeah,
I mean, guys who literally seemingly were asleep this season. Some guys, all of a sudden, the bats got hit at the right time. And like I said, I think it was because those guys understood their game, right?
Yeah.
Let's not try to do too much. Let me get on. Let me be held at the bottom. Let me extend counts. I mean, a lot of deep counts too. So when the top roll back around, all of a sudden, hey, those guys are a little winded. Those guys are a little mentally worn out. And now you got to face the big boppers at the top.
Cameron Maybin's going to hang out one more segment. Let's preview the World Series with him. Dodgers and Blue Jays. We'll get to it next. Another segment with Cameron Maybin, the former big leaguer, World Series winner, hanging out with myself and Sam Yarnell after the Blue Jays send the Mariners home. Can you recall a loss in your career that had that sort of crush to it, Cameron? Did you? I mean,
yeah. You know, I think it was, my 2019 when I was with the Yankees. Chapman comes in, Altuve comes up, and we all know what happened. And I remember that year, you know, playing for the Yankees, we thought if we get past this Houston series, we can win it all. We really did. The bullpen was lights out that year. CC was doing some special things towards the end. Gardy, I mean, we had a good group, a good chemistry. We had the guys back at the right time, and Yeah, I can say that gut punch is one that I still, when you bring it up, thanks Jason for bringing that up just right here when the Mariners lose. I appreciate it. But yeah, still a good gut kick for me for sure.
Yeah, don't tear his jersey off because you don't want that signaling device to get shown there. All right, so we've got the Dodgers and the Blue Jays in the World Series, and it feels like you're going with the Dodgers in this series. Is there something that could potentially move you off that?
No, not at all. Watching them throughout this entire postseason, they just look like a team on a mission. I've said it before. I've always thought the National League was superior to the American League this year. I think the Dodgers showed down the stretch. This is the team that we all thought they were going to be in early January and February when they were getting pieced together. This is the team when you look at Blake Snell, right? Let's talk about Blake Snell for a second. I mean, listen, and being in the box against him, that dude is exactly what the doctor ordered. I mean, he couldn't have got healthy at a better time. And I mean, when I say healthy, like not rush back, I mean, get himself back together, healthy, ready to go. And he is the ace right now. I mean, when you have to face him game one, I don't care if you face him in Toronto or Yellowstone. This dude, I'm picking him however it goes. And then their lineup, right? Their ability to just stress you out and to just talk about a team that can do damage, that puts team at-bats on you, right? We talk about team at-bats, 7-pitch at-bats, 8-pitch at-bats, 9-pitch at-bats, and then they get on, right? And then they win it. Then they win the count. So when you look at how they can just lengthen, a game, and at any moment, anybody can beat you. Like right now, we're talking about Vladdy Jr., we're talking about Springer. That's about it. I mean, Ernie Clement was hot. There was a lot of timely hitting. But when you look up and down the Dodgers lineup, I mean, Betts, Freeman, Hernandez, Edman, Smith, every night it's Muncy comes up with a huge hit. It seems like in every situation, like George Springer when they need it. I mean, he ain't even got hot yet, you know, so they're doing this without Andy Pages even really doing what he did all year. And now the pitching is healthy, right? And then you have guys where you can use those starters and you go, you know what? We're going to go to a starter. And all of a sudden, oh, wow, we got Roki Sasaki looking like he could be our closer of the future. So it's just hard for me to pick against the Dodgers. They have a focus where, a lot of teams you see get cool, right? And they start to feel themselves. And my father used to say, don't be a victim of your own success. They're not. They're hungry. Like last year's in the past, it's gone. And they're looking to become, this era's dynasty. And I think they're going to do it.
Cam, you've obviously played in that environment, in a World Series, in Dodger Stadium. Tell us what that's like out in Chavez Ravine when the calendar flips over to October.
Well, I think it'll be different from when I was there, right? When I played there, I think it was a little Hollywood, right? I think the fans were a little cool and they were just more excited to be there, be a part of it, right? They didn't really cheer like I thought they would be. They didn't get as loud as I thought they would be. That was when in 17 when I was with the Astros. And, I felt like it was almost like, hey, we're coming to the game to see who comes to the game, not to show up to watch our team kick somebody's ass. So I think now what they have, it's funny to say the defending champs have a chip on their shoulder, but I think they have more of a business mindset, right? And I think the fans have adapted that, right? So they get behind their team, they get loud. They want to see this, this special thing happen, a repeat World Series that hadn't happened since the early 70s. I mean, I think it was 70s, 80s, somewhere in there. It's been a long time since we had a repeat World Series champion. So I think this time around, I think it's going to be even bigger, bolder, louder, because I look at it like this too. This is the North versus Hollywood. This ain't just Toronto versus, the Dodgers. This is Hollywood versus the North, power versus precision, stars versus stars. I mean, baseball wins either way, but I think the Dodgers fans are going to understand how big this is because they're not just playing the Blue Jays. They're playing an entire country, wanting to see their team do something special against, I think, a team who nobody's picking the Blue Jays to win. As a matter of fact, if you got some money, throw 100 on the Blue Jays just in case, because you're going to get paid.
I agree with you in that I feel like it's the Dodgers series to lose. I have said on this show for weeks that I feel like the National League is just steps ahead of the American League right now. That was my big bet going into the playoffs, was that the National League would win the World Series. I'm curious though, the one thing that has scared me as a now Dodgers backer, they're going to have a week between when the NLCS ends and when the World Series starts. It's their longest break all season, even longer than the All-Star break in July. Does that scare you at all, Cameron?
No, it doesn't. Their season, their experience. Hell, if anything, when you look at how the season went for them, those dudes and Dave Roberts might be thinking, yes, perfect. Like, this is what we needed. I'm serious, right? Like, again, I just go back to Blake Snell, look at some of these guys getting healthy. It's like, as far as their bullpen goes as well, too, right? That's been the one question mark for me is the Dodgers bullpen. But now you give those guys some time to rest with a great analytic department who can go, hey, this is what we're going to do against them, creating a plan. I think if anything, this could be a blessing in disguise for the Dodgers with you look at how their whole season went, right? Because adrenaline is going to carry you through the aches and the pains and the nicks and the knacks. But with this team, with their experience, I get it, and we've seen it happen before, but no, I don't. I just don't think, and I just honestly don't think, after game one happens, I bet that I see the Dodgers getting right back into the groove of things really quick. So for me, if the Blue Jays win a game, it'll be game one. I've got the Dodgers in 5.
Wow.
I got them winning one game, to be honest with you. And I think if they win one game, it'll be game one. Like you said, maybe catching Dodgers a little sleep. But again, they're going to have to face Blake Snell. So it's going to be a low-scoring game. And I think at the end of the day, when we talk about clutch at-bats, I'm taking the Dodgers lineup over the Blue Jays lineup at any day of the week. When you talk about 1 through 9, where's Will Smith hitting? 7th? I mean, you kidding me? Like, you got it. You know what I'm saying? Like, this dude's one of the most clutch hitters in all the game, and he's hitting towards the middle, bottom of your lineup. So
Cameron Maybin, World Series winner, former MLB outfielder. I always appreciate you, my man. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Hey, I said it, and I'm going to say it on air. I missed you last week because I got a 2-month-old, but I told you, I'm going to get whatever you need through these playoffs off season, bro. I owe you. I'm a man of my word. You just, when you need me, call me. I'm hop on.
I love
Let's
it.
do it.
Cameron, always appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, appreciate you, Jay.
Welcome back to the show. Let's get to the NFL. We've got weekend leftovers, everything we didn't get to from Sunday in Week 7 that we can possibly jam in to a couple of segments. That's coming up. We had please tell me this was the last Monday Night Football doubleheader, Sam Yarnell, please. I'm begging of you. Please say there's no more. I can't do anymore. I'm not going to lie. I bailed on the second game last night. I bailed on the second game. Couldn't do it. It was a terrible. First of all, it was a terrible game.
It was.
I mean, the Texans are unwatchable right now. I couldn't. After watching that ALCS Game 7 and going back and forth and watching what was going on with the Buccaneers and Lions, so I was keeping tabs on that. By the time, and I'm on the West Coast, so I don't even have to stay up that super late. I was done. I was just like, I'm done. The NFL, I finally bailed. I was like, I'm done. So let's talk about the Buccaneers. Who I think we could. I don't know what the MVP odds were on Baker Mayfield before that game. I'd love to know the before and after on Baker, because I would imagine the after was probably not nearly as good if we were looking at the odds. As some of the shine came off of him last night, and we were talking yesterday on the program about the sort of parity versus the idea of it just being a mid-league, and which teams we need to put at the top of the list, whether you still believe it's the Chiefs or the Bills or, whoever you want to throw into that conversation. And the Lions are clearly a part of that conversation. They're going to be there when we get to the end of the season, and everything's going to be matchup predicated and who you match up with. But Detroit just continues to show me that they're one of those teams that's going to be there when we get to the end of the year. And Jahmyr Gibbs had a night for the ages, Sam Yarnell.
Yeah, we talk about awards. Jahmyr Gibbs will probably get a little more run in the Offensive Player of the Year market. Baker Mayfield, I like you, thought the slide would be more. He was like 7-1 plus 750 in some spots yesterday before the game. He's only 9-1 now, so it really didn't fall off that much. And Jahmyr Gibbs is still 40-1 behind his teammate Amon-Ra St. Brown for Offensive Player of the Year. So maybe the sports books were too busy watching the ALCS last night too. Cause yeah, it was a bad one for Baker Mayfield. A lot of bad quarterback play all around yesterday. Baker was like not great. CJ Stroud, and we'll get to this game in a second, horrible. Sam Darnold absolutely got him. Jared Goff wasn't good. I mean, let's be honest. If you watched that game, you knew Jared Goff looked horrible at times. Absolutely putrid. Yeah, death taxes and the Detroit Lions being able to run the football, right? It's like the 3 guarantees in life. This team, it doesn't matter who they put in the backfield, whether it's David Montgomery or Jahmyr Gibbs, somebody's going to run all over the other team almost religiously. That front 5 for Detroit is just seemingly unstoppable, even with the pieces they don't have this year, Jason. But I'm not ready to jump like everybody else is and say, oh, this Lions team is like a shoo-in in the NFC.
I don't think anybody's a shoo-in.
Wide open conference.
No, nobody's a shoo-in, but they're certainly one of the teams. If we're talking about the sort of goulash, as I like to call it, the goulash of teams that are, these 4-2, 5-2, 4-3s, that they're just a huge jumble of them. I think you would probably, if you were willing to pick one or two out of the pile, they have to be considered one that you would pick out of the pile if we're talking about a group of 12 or 13 teams in this league that are going to be in the mix. They're one of them that you have to pick out of the pile.
Maybe it's the postseason acumen.
You got to pick somebody,
team.
Sam. Somebody, right?
Yeah, I have no doubt that they'll get in the dance, right? Like, they will definitely get to the playoffs.
Sure.
That obviously seems like a given conclusion at this point. A foregone conclusion, I should say. But, like, we've seen this Lions team almost built exactly the same, as a matter of fact, perform absolutely horribly in the playoffs. We've seen Jared Goff look like a shell of himself in the playoffs, right? So, and again, and that's what I'll go back to with the Eagles, and everyone's being like, oh, the Eagles, they're back. No, they're not. They won the NFC last year as a completely different football team than what they're showing you this year. The Washington Commanders, completely different football team than what they were last year. But what you look at in the constants of these teams, right, when you look at the Detroit Lions, is not as promising as other teams. So, again, I have no doubt that they'll make the playoffs. They might even win the NFC North. But, Jason, I don't think this is a team that could win, maybe even get to the NFC Championship.
Then who is? I mean, because like I said, somebody's got to go to the NFC Championship game. Somebody has to come out of the NFC, and all we're doing is picking apart teams instead of trying to find a reason to say, all right, this team could be the team that comes out of the NFC. You're doing the inverse. I'm trying to figure out. You're trying to weed everybody out, and by the time you're done, it's like there is nobody. Nobody's coming out of the NFC. If I listen to Sam Yarnell, I'm trying to find who's coming out of the NFC, whereas you're trying to tell me nobody's coming out of the NFC. Whoever's the AFC champ is the Super Bowl winner because nobody's coming out of the NFC. Who's coming out then?
That's not true, and it's funny. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers still have a great shot to win the NFC. I mean, look at this team, and look at what they did
without
yesterday.
Mike Evans the rest of the season.
With half of their roster available and their entire practice squad elevated, and they're still able to keep it within 15 points of the team that everyone is calling the best in the NFC. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a pretty darn good football team.
Losing Evans for basically the remainder of the season. I mean, they'll get him back maybe late in the year. That's going to be a significant loss to that team. Remember, the Lions were also playing without missing a bunch of guys in the secondary too, and they found a way to sort of piece it together and get the win. I'm not saying that I'm not saying crown them when we talk about Detroit. I'm just trying to figure out who's coming out. I don't think it's Tampa Bay. I think that I always feel like whoever's at the top of the NFC South is on fraud watch for me. I always feel that way. If you ask me right now, I still look at the stalwarts like the Rams. I still look at Detroit. And I still look at Philadelphia because they always seem to figure out a way, by the time we get to the end of the season, that they're going to be in the conversation. I'm not a believer in the Packers. I'm still not a believer in the Niners because you don't know who the hell their quarterback's going to be. But then again, it may not matter as long as Kyle Shanahan is sort of manning things there as far as the offense is concerned. He can figure out how to win with anybody. I don't think it's the Seahawks. But I do think it could be Detroit. I do think it could be the Rams still, who I picked to come out of the NFC. I don't know. We've got more time to flush this out. We're going to do some weekend leftovers from the NFL. There's a lot to talk about. We'll do it next. All right, coming up in 20 minutes, we got odds and ends. And a special edition of odds and ends. The NBA season tips off tonight. I will be locked in. And if you are not following us on YouTube especially right now, we will have SportsWrap shorts going off throughout the NBA season after the biggest games that you watch in primetime. You'll want to make sure to check us out over on YouTube, our YouTube channel, the SportsWrap with Jason Page YouTube channel for SportsWrap shorts with the quickest recaps and highlights from the biggest games around the NBA. All right, Sam Yarnell, weekend leftovers, NFL style, week 7 around the league. The Vikings feel like they have a gripe in their loss against the Eagles 28-22, Sam. I want to start there because I was, this was one of those games where I was kind of interested to see where we were going to get J.J. McCarthy, where we were going to get Carson Wentz. We got Wentz in that game. The Eagles picked themselves up after dropping a couple of games and get the win on the road in Minnesota, but certainly not without controversy.
Yeah, did you see what happened with Adam Schefter?
I don't know if I did. No.
He got community noted with his own tweet.
Oh,
this was... So, Adam Schefter, Sunday morning, tweets out that Carson Wentz is going to start for the Vikings and that J.J. McCarthy is still on the sideline for his, 6 to 8 week injury, which is what they've always said it was. Well, people went back and looked, and when J.J. McCarthy first got injured, Adam Schefter reported that it would be a 4-week injury. So something doesn't make sense here. Something smells a little fishy in Minneapolis, and it ain't the ice fishing 60 miles north. Yeah, this is a bad situation. And as a guy who was hesitant to listen on all of the J.J. McCarthy hate or disbelief, I can't be that guy anymore. I can't. Now you have an organization blatantly showing you that they don't believe in a guy who they wasted a first-round pick on less than 720 days ago. This is dire straits. This is worse than what Houston's got going on down south, and that's a number 1 overall defense who just wasted a top 10 pick on a quarterback who looks like he can't make an accurate NFL throw. This is dire straits for the Minnesota Vikings. And, I know they lose the game to the Eagles, and the Eagles only beat them by 6 points, and there's a whole different, can of worms we can open on the concern level for the Eagles because it's still got to be pretty high. But for Minnesota, every single light buzzer siren has to be going off right now. We got to get off of J.J. McCarthy the second we can, and we need to get a competent quarterback in here because we have a wonderkind coach and the best wide receiver in football, and they're going to get pretty upset pretty soon.
Yeah, and Justin Jefferson's pretty good too. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about Jordan Addison, who had 9 for 128 in that game. A.J. Brown, by the way, if you want some good news, if you're an Eagles fan, at least A.J. Brown was involved. He got targeted 6 times, 4 for 121, the 2 scores. And a lot of people are starting to compare this to, the Terrell Owens, Donovan McNabb relationship. And so, there's been a lot of that, when sort of comparing and contrasting what the relationship is like right now between Hurts, A.J. Brown, and that organization. Go ahead.
Oh my gosh, the disrespect being put on Terrell Owens' name to even mention A.J. Brown in the same sentence is disgusting. You want the real comparison for who this duo is? I'll give it to you. It's Russell Wilson, because that's who Jalen Hurts is, and Doug Baldwin. There you go. Have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your day, Philadelphia fans.
We could officially put the Jags on fraud watch, I think, after that loss, by the way, in
Finally.
London. And look, I was willing to give them the benefit of the doubt, but that performance, that putrid performance that they put out against the Rams on Sunday morning, that I got up in my hotel room to watch at 6:30 in the morning in Palm Springs, California, never again. Never again am I buying into this Jags team. Man, Trevor Lawrence was terrible in this game. Horrible. Missing some of the most basic passes. And listening to Kurt Warner. And Kurt Warner tends to sugarcoat it a little bit because he likes to try and be a little nicer and a little more gentle. Even Kurt Warner's watching this guy miss wide open screens in the flat and just going, like, you can't miss these throws. These are the most basic throws a quarterback at this level has to make. And for Kurt Warner to say that kind of thing, again, talking about red flashing lights, that's red flashing lights for me, Sam.
Yeah, again, I've talked about it for years at this point on this show. I don't know how many more times I have to say it. Trevor Lawrence is a guy who has never, ever lost in his career. He cannot deal with the bright lights of the NFL because, quite frankly, at this point, I'm very comfortable saying it. His hand was held through the first 21 years of his football life. I mean, he went to play at one of the best high schools in the country, and from there he went to play at the Dabo Swinney pre-NIL Clemson Tigers. You're going to tell me that this kid has ever faced a single ounce of adversity in his life? No. Trevor Lawrence was not made for the NFL. He was made for college football. He had a bunch of success there. Maybe he should go back there and try to remake his name.
Real quick, Indianapolis continues to win football games, beat the Chargers on the road, and any win in the NFL on the road is a good one. 38-24, Daniel Jones, 288, the two scores. Herbert throws for 420 in the loss. Jonathan Taylor continues to do what he does with 3 more touchdowns in this game. And Sam, the Colts just continue to win games. And again, if we're picking teams out of that sort of jumbled pile, are we ready? Are we comfortable to pick Indianapolis out of there, or do we still have concerns?
I'll tell you in the next segment.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is a tease. Because I also want to talk about whether or not it's time to pull the plug on the Mike McDaniels situation in Miami. That's next. We'll wrap it up with odds and ends in 10 minutes. NBA tipping off on Tuesday night. I can't wait. Oh, sign me up for the Knicks. I need something right now. As a New York sports fan, I need something. Sam. It better be the Knicks. Because I don't know if I can take much more of anything else. Between that Giants loss to the Broncos, the Rangers who can't score goals at home. They actually scored one last night. I just can't do it.
I'm telling you, man, you gotta, let's share the wealth. The Nashville Jets. No, I'm sorry. The Nashville's already got a football team. Yeah. The Nashville Knicks. The Nashville Nets, better yet.
No, stop it.
I don't know. The St. Louis Giants. Let's share the wealth, New York. I mean, you don't deserve all these sports teams anymore. You clearly can manage them.
So we were talking about the Chargers and the Colts. Go ahead. You said you had something good to say, so I'm waiting with breath that is bated.
Do you remember the question that you asked? The viewers at home may not. You said, "Are you ready to let the Colts be one of those teams that we think we could pick out of the AFC that could make their way to the AFC Championship, inevitably to lose to the Chiefs?" But that's neither here nor there. I am. I'm here. I'm him. Call me Mr. Indianapolis Colt. I love this team. And I love this team a little bit extra because I think they're quarterback proof. And that makes me really excited. Jonathan Taylor is rightfully the minus money odds on favorite to win the Offensive Player of the Year in the NFL this year. He is far and away the best running back in the NFL this year.
Who has the next best odds?
Bijan, maybe. I'll double check right now as we're doing the segment.
No, go ahead.
I'm trying to stall. But anyway, this team, I mean, you even saw it this weekend. Michael Pittman stepping up when they don't have the entirety of their wide receiver room, right? Tyler Warren has come onto the scene just as well as he did at Penn State, right? This is a top 5 tight end in football. Do I even need to say anything about this defense? The only reason that the LA Chargers finished with 24 points is because the Colts defense decided to let them score 2 touchdowns in the last quarter and a half of the game once everybody had stopped trying. That game, for all intents and purposes, was 38-17? It makes no sense to me why nobody saw this coming, including myself. A lot of us should have seen this coming with the amount of talent that this team put together on one single roster and puts out on the field every single weekend. None of us saw it coming, but the Colts are here, and I think they're here to stay, Jason. I don't care if it's Daniel Jones. I don't care if it's Anthony Richardson. The players around him can get them wins. I trust the Indianapolis Colts.
By the way, on the Offensive Player of the Year odds, it's Taylor at -140, and then Jackson Smith and Jigba at +430. Then Christian McCaffrey at +650, and then Bijan Robinson at 10-1. If you're talking Offensive Player of the Year. By the way, are there two guys that you'd rather watch more in open space than Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson? Just flip it out to them in the flat and just watch them go. It's like a video game. It's fantastic. I know Jordan Schultz was on the show with us last week, and I love him. And he said he didn't think the Dolphins were going to pull the plug on Mike McDaniel and this situation in Miami. But man alive, I don't know how they continue to sort of roll with this. I mean, his post-game presser was borderline incoherent. Cleveland, you get dusted by Cleveland 31-6. And just as, we heard Jordan refer to the fact that the Titans made the coaching change after they went into Las Vegas and got embarrassed by the Raiders. I don't know how, if you are this, if you're Stephen Ross and this ownership group in Miami, how you don't look at this thing at how rock bottom it's got. It can't get worse at this point. And how you're not doing something to try and change your fortunes, anything, when the team is playing this badly. I mean, Sam, Dylan Gabriel threw for 116 yards, and the Browns beat the Dolphins 31-6.
Yeah, it was horrible. So I think in all of this, right, before the season started, I was a guest on another show, and they asked me who my person to watch in the NFL was this year. Not player, but person, whether it be a coach, manager, whatever, broadcaster, or even whoever. And I said Chris Greer. And this is exactly why I said Chris Greer. Because now we've gotten to the point where it feels like it might be more than just Mike McDaniel that's going to leave. I think a lot of us knew that, based on where the Dolphins were, where the division was, and where their schedule was, we could all foresee Mike McDaniel probably wasn't going to last the entirety of the season. However, the fact that it's lasted this long makes me think that, to your point, the ownership group is thinking about making a more wholesale change, right? Changing out the entirety of the front office. Not to say that they won't do it during the season, because that's certainly on the board and we've seen it done before. I just think they may be waiting to do it all at once. They don't want to fire McDaniel and then 2 weeks later fire Greer right after he appointed an interim head coach. That's when things get a little messy. That's just my reading on the situation. But at the end of the day, dollar in the jar.
There it is.
Anyway. But the Miami Dolphins, they're a team. Oh gosh, I can't believe I'm about to say this. The only way that anything gets better is if they get rid of Tua Tagovailoa. I'm sorry. Like, you watch this guy play in a football game. The only way, with the amount of money that you have guaranteed this man, the only way is if you are horrible this year, draft a quarterback, release Tua. During the first year of that rookie quarterback, you're still paying Tua the dead cap hit of a regular number one quarterback. That's how you can rebuild this franchise. And that window is closing at this point, Jason.
Yeah, I think it's a mess. I'll be curious to see if McDaniel makes it through the season. The fact that it's Tuesday and they haven't fired him yet means that he's going to probably hang around for at least another week. It's an untenable situation. Odds and ends are next. Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Tuesday. Tomorrow on the show, Kurt Heelan to recap opening night in the NBA. I'm like that little kid in the GIF that you always see at the hockey game where he's like, that's me right now. I am so geeked for the start of NBA season, Sam Yarnell. Couple of reminders before we go. If you have not done so yet, make sure to subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast. It's available on all your favorite podcasting platforms. I have to give a disclaimer now. Much like Scott Hansen used to say, 7 hours commercial free. I can no longer say that the podcast is commercial free. We do have sponsors. So we have to give you that disclaimer. 45 minutes of beautiful, crystal clear audio. If you want to listen to the show, Monday through Friday, available on your favorite podcasting platforms, but there are pre-roll, mid-roll, and post-roll ads in it now. So we hope you still listen. It is fantastic. We appreciate you doing so. Subscribe. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. If you have not subscribed to this, what are you waiting for? It is all the rage. We've also now got Sports Wrap handles over on TikTok and Insta. So if you want to watch Sports Wrap shorts, they're available on our YouTube channel, the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. Also available on TikTok, also available on Insta. If you want to watch Sports Wrap shorts, it is terrific. The biggest games, we have reactions to them every night over on Sports Wrap shorts on the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel and all your favorite social media video viewing options that are out there. All right, without any further delay, on this Tuesday edition of Sports Wrap, it's time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, Sam Yarnell, it's here. NBA season in all its glory. The only thing as a sports fan that I have to look forward to right now, the NBA season, not because of the Brooklyn Nets, no, but because of the New York Knickerbockers, who I will be watching. I can't wait. Tomorrow night, they take on the Cleveland Cavaliers to tip off the season at Madison Square Garden. But tonight, Round Ball Rock makes its return. NBC and Peacock. Rockets and the Thunder in the early game with Kevin Durant, fresh with a new contract in hand. Rockets and Thunder tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, followed by the Warriors and the Lakers, because who doesn't love to watch LeBron versus... Oh, wait, LeBron's not playing. See, already Peacock's getting the shaft. So, Lakers and Warriors, Rockets and Thunder. But, Sam, what I want to know more from you is a pick for the finals.
Too close.
Yeah, I know. A pick for the finals. Thunder are your favorites at 2-1.
Yeah, okay.
2-1?
Know. Yeah, not short. Give me the Wizards to win the NBA Finals. Don't know what the number is. That'll be the team that I'll ride with this year. Hey, was Trey Johnson? That kid's going to be awesome this year. Give me Bilal Coulibaly back. Yeah. Alexander Sarr. I mean, this Wizards team, they're really up and coming. Give me the Wizards to win the Finals just because it's ridiculous that they're pricing the Oklahoma City Thunder at that number, and that's who I do think is going to win it, but that's an unbettable number. So I'll take the Wizards. Some bets that I actually do like in the NBA because, known basketball guy. I'll go with the Los Angeles Clippers. Their win total is way too high. It's 49.5. I'll go under that number at -102, and I'll go with the New Orleans Pelicans under 30.5 wins, regular season wins, at -102 as well. Let me just double check that regular season win total on the New Orleans Pelicans.
By the way,
30.5. I love the under there.
Pelicans to make the playoffs, by the way, plus 580.
Yeah, no shot.
And your Wizards to make the playoffs are plus 2,500.
And now that is a bet I would make. See, that may be my favorite bet on the entire NBA board. But when you're talking about these two games tonight, I lean Rockets, lean under in the first game,
anything.
And in the second game, give me the Lakers as a home dog, and I'll go over in game 2.
I'm not leaning anything on opening night because you don't know what you have. I know these guys play in the preseason so sparingly, and yeah, they're practicing and they have training camp and all that stuff, but I can't go crazy even making opening night bets. Can't. It's just no.
So the reason I like the Rockets is honestly more of a system play than an actual breakdown play of anything. You're having the defending champions open at home. You're having the game start 40 minutes later than it's supposed to. You're having the home team out on the floor for that 40 minutes, raising the banner, not paying attention to their warm-up right before tip-off. You're giving me 7 points with the Houston Rockets. That's just outside of the fouls range. I'll take the 7 with Houston, and I lean under. Again, kind of the same thing. Just trust the offense to not be all the way there for both teams early.
I'll be the sucker that says for the NBA Finals, the Clippers, you can get the Clippers to win the whole thing at 17-1. I know somebody has to be the second best team in the West after the Thunder, who I still think are going to be the best team in the West. I don't think it's the Nuggets at plus 650. I'm not there on Denver.
Dude, Rockets.
What's amazing about the NBA Finals odds is, other than the Knicks and Cavaliers, the entire list is the Western Conference. That's it.
That's true.
That's it. 6 of the first 8 teams are all Western Conference teams to win it all.
Shout out to the Orlando Magic. Maybe this is the year. I was a big Magic guy last year.
Kurt Heelan will be on the show tomorrow. Looking forward to chatting with him about opening night of the NBA. He's going to be at that Lakers game. It's going to do it for us. Thanks to Cameron Maybin. We'll see you all back here tomorrow.